On December 8, 1941, Roosevelt needed armored transport to deliver the most consequential address of the 20th century. The problem? The government did not own a single bulletproof car. The solution sat in a Treasury impound lot, a 1928 Cadillac built to protect Al Capone from rival assassins. How a gangster's rolling fortress carried a president to war begins with 1,000 bullets fired on a single Chicago street. In September 1926, a convoy of 8 rival vehicles drove past Al Capone's Cicero headquarters, firing more than 1,000 bullets into the building in broad daylight. The attack was orchestrated by Bugs Moran's North Side Gang, Capone's chief rivals in a turf war over Chicago's illegal alcohol market. Prohibition, in force since 1920, had turned bootlegging into an enterprise that generated an estimated $100 million annually for Capone's syndicate by 1928. While this wealth secured political influence and a private army of bodyguards, it also made Capone the most targeted man in America. He survived the Cicero ambush by throwing himself onto a restaurant floor, but the sheer volume of automatic gunfire proved that standard cars offered no protection. With rivals deploying military-grade weapons in rapid drive-by attacks, daily travel became a survival problem that bodyguards alone could not solve. Capone selected a brand new 1928 Cadillac Series 341A town sedan as the foundation for his mobile security. At the time, this four-door model was a premier symbol of wealth, favored by affluent Americans for its formal styling and spacious cabin. Straight from the Detroit factory, the vehicle was already an imposing machine. It was powered by a 341 cubic inch L-head Vive 8 engine that produced 90 horsepower through a 3-speed manual transmission. The heavy steel frame weighed over 5,000 pounds and could carry the car to a top speed of 70 miles per hour. This sturdy mechanical platform gave Capone the raw power and size he needed for his daily travel. But this stock luxury sedan would not remain standard for long. Ernest Capstron's Chicago body shop stripped the brand new sedan to its frame to install a coordinated defense system. Workers packed the doors, floor, and bulkheads with 3,000 pounds of asbestos-wrapped steel plating, raising the car's overall weight to over 8,000 pounds. Every window received 1-inch thick laminated bulletproof glass, engineered to stop .38 caliber rounds. The engineering went beyond passive shielding. The rear window sat on a spring-loaded hinge that dropped down instantly to expose a circular gun port, allowing guards to fire a Thompson submachine gun at pursuers. Another Thompson submachine gun rested in a hidden floor-level compartment built beneath the driver's seat. To conceal these heavy modifications, the exterior was painted dark green with black trim, matching the exact color scheme of Chicago Police Department patrol cars. This police disguise, supported by a hidden siren and radio receiver, allowed the rolling fortress to pass through rival territory unnoticed. These highly specialized mechanical upgrades turned a standard luxury sedan into a mobile bunker, years before the federal government possessed anything like it. Federal prosecutors spent years attempting to link Al Capone to bootlegging, extortion, and coordinated gang violence, but his insulation from low-level street operations made direct convictions impossible. Instead, the federal government pivoted to his finances. On October 17, 1931, the strategy succeeded when a jury convicted Capone of willful tax evasion. The judge sentenced the syndicate boss to 11 years in federal prison and imposed a fine of up to $80,000. The criminal conviction triggered a judicial forfeiture order, allowing the Treasury Department to seize Capone's primary holdings. Among the impounded property was his green and black armored Cadillac, which was officially logged into the federal seizure inventory as government property. Capone's personal control over his criminal empire ended on May 4, 1932, when he entered the federal penitentiary in Atlanta, Georgia. 2 years later, on August 22, 1934, authorities transferred him to Alcatraz Island to prevent him from directing operations. While Capone sat in the maximum security facility, his custom-built rolling fortress remained parked in a government garage, a confiscated piece of gangland history under federal lock and key. The seized green and black sedan was relocated to a Treasury Department garage in Washington, D.C., where it remained for the rest of the 1930s. During this decade, the federal government had no active civilian armored vehicle program, meaning the heavy car had no practical daily purpose. It sat silent in the dark, gathering dust. Yet, the vehicle was never entirely lost to history. Bureaucrats periodically logged the Cadillac on Treasury inventory cards, preserving its administrative paper trail alongside notations of the specialized armor modifications made by Ernest Capstran. These routine checks kept the car physically and legally accounted for within the federal system, even as years passed without any operational use. By the end of the decade, the sedan was a rare anomaly in the government's transport fleet, standing as one of only a handful of civilian-origin armored vehicles in the entire federal inventory. The rolling fortress was preserved by the quiet, regular ticking of civil service record-keeping, waiting in the shadows of the Treasury Depot. On December 7, 1941, the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor left more than 2,400 Americans dead and pulled the United States directly into World War II. In Washington, the immediate focus shifted to the physical safety of President Franklin D. Roosevelt. He was scheduled to travel from the White House to the Capitol the very next morning to request a formal declaration of war. Fearing coordinated secondary attacks on the Capitol, the Secret Service determined that armored transport was essential, yet no presidential armored vehicle existed. The standard White House limousine, an open-top 1939 Lincoln V12 called the Sunshine Special, was entirely unarmored and could not be modified overnight. Strict federal regulations also capped the purchase price of official cars at $750, preventing the quick acquisition of a new civilian armored car. This security gap forced Secret Service agents to launch an urgent search of the federal fleet for any protected vehicle already in government possession. Treasury mechanics worked through the night of December 7th to prepare the green and black sedan. Under the direction of Secret Service agent Michael F. Riley, they serviced the engine, checked the brakes, and verified the radio systems. At noon on December 8, 1941, the heavily armored Cadillac pulled up to the White House portico. President Roosevelt climbed inside, shielded by the mobster's 3,000 pounds of steel plating, and traveled to the Capitol to deliver his Day of Infamy address. The Cadillac's presidential career was brief. Once wartime restrictions eased, the Secret Service replaced it with purpose-built armored limousines. The car transitioned into the private collector market, changing hands through various owners, including the Lebrecht family and collector John O'Quinn, eventually appearing at exhibitions and modern auctions with $1 million price tag. But which surviving car actually carried the president remains an open historical debate. The original 1932 Treasury seizure records logged the vehicle by model and armored status, but omitted a vehicle identification number. Today, two surviving 1928 town sedans claim the FDR legacy, alongside a heavily armored 1930 Cadillac V16 also once owned by Capone. Without a documented chassis number in the government's original wartime receipts, the precise identity of the vehicle that shielded Roosevelt on that historic morning remains lost to time. Today, this armored relic stands as a physical reminder of a nation caught off guard. In moments of existential crisis, the line between criminal survival and state power completely vanishes. History is often steered by the most unexpected machinery. What do you think? Share your thoughts below.